Have you ever woken up and felt something was missing, something so ordinary you only notice its absence when the world becomes too quiet? That's what happened to Miro the tiny bear on the night everything changed. The forest did not breathe. No leaves whispered. No crickets chirped. Even the river, always humming softly like a sleepy friend, lay still as glass. Miro sat up, his tiny ears flicking in confusion. "Hello?" he whispered. His voice felt too loud in the silence, like a pebble dropped into a bottomless well. He stepped outside his hollow tree and almost shivered, not from cold, but from the feeling that the sky was holding its breath. Then he saw it. A faint glow beneath an old root, pulsing gently, like a heartbeat trapped underground. Miro crept closer. The glow brightened, trembling as if it recognized him. He dug carefully until his paws touched glass, a small round jar, warm as living fur. Inside it swirled a silver ripple of light. And then it happened. A tiny sound, no bigger than a sigh, escaped the jar. Not a whisper, an echo. His name. Miro. He stumbled back, heart thumping. Forest echoes never carried names, never called out, never chose someone. But this one had. And as the jar glowed brighter, Miro understood something impossible. The forest hadn't lost its sounds. They had been stolen. And this echo wanted him to find the rest. The jar throbbed softly in Miro's paws, as if it held a tiny heart learning how to beat. Each pulse sent a shimmer of silver light across his fur, and with every shimmer came a faint, trembling sound, like the forest trying to remember itself. Miro pressed the jar to his chest. "Are you alive?" he whispered. The echo inside fluttered in response. He carried it to a clearing where the moon hung low, brushing the treetops. Carefully, with paws that shook only a little, Miro opened the lid. A hush swept through the clearing. Then, like a spark taking its first breath, the echo rose. It unfolded into a thin ribbon of sound, soft and warm, swirling around Miro's snout, brushing his ears. The air trembled. The earth hummed. And a heartbeat returned, deep, slow, ancient. Thump. A single vibration rolled through the soil. Thump. Leaves trembled. Thump. A circle of life around Miro woke as if stirred from a long sleep. It was the forest's pulse. But only a tiny part of it. When the echo faded into the night, the clearing fell silent again, but not empty. Now Miro knew the truth. Every sound in the forest wasn't gone, it was hiding somewhere, trapped and waiting to be freed. He looked down at the jar in his paws. Its glow was gone. But the warmth remained, like a promise. "If one echo can return a heartbeat," Miro murmured, "then maybe I can bring everything back." And so, under a slow-turning moon, the tiniest bear in the quiet world made a decision that would change it forever. He would find every lost echo. There are moments in a journey when silence is louder than any roar. Miro discovered this the morning he met the fox. He was following a trail of faint shimmer, tiny sparkles in the grass that only echoes left behind, when he heard something strange, not a sound, but the absence of one. A soft shape moving among the ferns, trembling, trying desperately to make a noise that simply wouldn't come. A young fox stepped into the light. Small, russet, bright-eyed, and voiceless. The fox opened its mouth. Its body shook with effort. But nothing, absolutely nothing, came out. Miro felt the silence like a cold wind. The fox lowered its head, paws tapping the ground anxiously, begging for help without a single whisper. And then Miro saw it, a glimmer on the fox's chest where its voice should have been, flickering like a candle afraid to die. A missing echo. He knelt beside the fox. Your voice was taken too, he said softly. But I think I can find it. The fox's ears perked, hope glowing in its eyes. Miro followed the shimmer trail deeper into the woods until it led to a bend in the river, a place where water moved strangely, curling in circles though there was no wind. And sitting atop a smooth stone was a small, translucent figure, shaped like a droplet with eyes that reflected the whole sky. A water spirit. Guarding something. Something that pulsed like a trapped breath. Miro stepped forward, heart steady. Please, he said. I've come for the fox's echo. Some echoes hide because they're lost. But some hide because they're afraid. The water spirit tilted its shimmering head as Miro approached. Its body rippled like moonlight on a pond, and the echo it guarded throbbed nervously beneath its translucent hands. I didn't steal it, the spirit murmured in a voice like dripping rain. It ran to me. Miro blinked. Echoes could run? The spirit pointed toward the swirling pocket of water beside the stone. Inside, coiled like a trembling ribbon of light, was the fox's missing echo, small, bright, and terrified. Whenever the fox called out, the echo should have answered. But instead, it had fled. Why did it run? Miro whispered. The spirit lowered its gaze. Because the night it was born is gone. A loud storm tore it apart. The echo survived, but it believes its home no longer exists. Miro kneeled at the water's edge. The echo quivered at his presence, trying to sink deeper, curling into itself like a frightened cub. He reached out a gentle paw. I'm not asking you to remember what hurt you, he said softly. I'm asking you to help someone who still needs you. The echo pulsed once, hesitant. Twice, listening. Then, slowly, it drifted toward his paw, like a tiny light learning to trust again. Miro cupped it carefully, lifting it toward the surface where real sunlight touched the water. For the fox, he whispered. The echo glowed. And chose to follow him home. Every forest has a place older than memory. A place where the earth listens more than it speaks. Miro reached such a place at dawn. After returning the fox's echo and watching its voice burst back into joyful howls, Miro followed a new thread of shimmering dust rising from the treetops. It led him upward, toward the quietest mountain in the land, Hearthrise Peak, a giant that seemed carved from stillness itself. The higher he climbed, the fewer sounds remained. Even his paws felt muted on the stone, as if the mountain swallowed every noise before it reached the air. At the summit, he found not silence, but someone waiting. An enormous tortoise sat in the shadow of a lone pine, its shell cracked with age and etched with patterns that looked disturbingly like sound waves. The creature opened one wise eye as Miro approached. I know why you've come, it rumbled, though its lips barely moved. You seek the Echo Vault. Miro gasped. There's a vault? A place where ancient echoes sleep, the tortoise said. Storms, songs, footfalls, even forgotten lullabies. This mountain has kept them safe for centuries. Miro's heart thudded with excitement and fear. Can I enter it? The tortoise shook its head slowly. Not all echoes wish to return to the world. Some remember their endings too well. The wind brushed Miro's fur. Yet even that made no sound. The tortoise leaned close, voice barely above a breath. But if you are brave enough to listen deeper than silence, the vault may open for you. And for the first time since his journey began, Miro wondered. What if some echoes were never meant to be found? Some forests speak. But this one spoke, incorrectly. As Miro descended from Hearthrise Peak, the shimmering trail led him into a valley blanketed in soft mist. At first, he thought the forest had finally regained some of its sounds, birds chirped, squirrels chattered, frogs croaked. But then he froze. The bird above him croaked. The squirrel hooted. The frog meowed. Every creature spoke, but none with their own voice. A young rabbit hopped toward him and squeaked, not with a rabbit's squeak, but with a deep, grumbling bear sound. His sound. The rabbit stared at him, mortified, as if borrowing the wrong voice was a terrible embarrassment. "What happened here?" Miro whispered. A rustle answered him. Tiny shapes zipped above the branches, sparrows. Dozens of them. Their feathers shimmered with faint silver dust. The trickster sparrows of legend. Echo thieves. Playful, and dangerously curious. One landed on Miro's head, puffed its chest, and spoke in the voice of an old owl. "Nice forest you've got there, little bear." Miro sighed. "You stole everyone's echoes, didn't you?" The sparrow blinked innocently. "We didn't steal them. We only rearranged them." The forest erupted in mismatched noises, chaos disguised as song. Miro looked at the sparrows. "I need to put the echoes back where they belong." The sparrow tilted its head. "Then you'll have to catch us, every last one." And with a mischievous flutter, the chase began, silver dust swirling like laughter through the trees. Some echoes can be caught. Some must be convinced. And some exist only when the moon decides they should. After returning the stolen voices to the forest of borrowed voices, one sparrow at a time, Miro followed a faint, almost invisible shimmer leading east. But this shimmer was different, pale, cold, gentle, like the touch of moonlight on water. By dusk, he reached a silent meadow rimmed with silver-tipped grass. The trail brightened only when the moon rose. Then, the meadow exhaled. A thin ribbon of glowing sound lifted from the ground, swirling slowly like a sigh made of light. It drifted above Miro's head, weightless, delicate, glowing softly in the night. A moon echo. He reached for it. And it dissolved. Not gone. Just absent, like a dream that slips away when the mind tries too hard to remember it. Miro sat quietly. He closed his eyes. He let the night settle around him instead of chasing it away with movement. He listened. Truly listened. The crickets' faint drumming. The grass brushing softly. His own small heartbeat. And under it all, a whisper. The moon echo returned, coiling near his paws, drawn to his stillness. It hovered, trembling, as if waiting to see whether he would force it or welcome it. Miro cupped his paws gently, offering space instead of capture. The echo landed lightly, glowing warmer than moonlight should. "You're safe," Miro whispered. Only then did it stay. What do you do when the very thing you're trying to save refuses to be saved? Miro discovered this on a morning that smelled of dew and worry. He had collected many echoes now, moonlit ones, trembling ones, stubborn ones, shy ones. His jars glowed softly inside his satchel like a pocket full of tiny suns. But when he approached the center of the forest to release them, the jars began to vibrate, nervously. A trembling chorus rose inside them. Not fear. Resistance. One jar jerked open by itself, a bright echo bursting out like a streak of lightning. Instead of flying to where it once belonged, it hovered defiantly, pulsing with agitation. Others followed. Dozens of echoes spiraled above Miro, each one glowing with a different memory, a different life. The air rang with a strange, fragile sound, echoes arguing without words. "Why won't you return?" Miro whispered. A single echo drifted close, brushing his cheek like a worried breeze. And suddenly, he understood. They weren't afraid of the forest. They were afraid of being lost again. Storms. Silence. Disappearances. Being forgotten by the world. Miro placed his paws on the earth. "I won't force you," he said softly. "But you don't have to vanish to be safe. If you return, I'll give you a place where you'll always be remembered." The echoes hovered uncertainly, their light flickering like indecisive fireflies. A promise wasn't enough. They needed something real. So Miro did something he'd never done before. He opened every jar and let the echoes decide for themselves. Every hero reaches a moment when the journey asks for something they never expected to give. For Miro, that moment arrived the day a tiny bird fell from the sky without a sound. He found it trembling under a fern, wings quivering, beak open, eyes wide with terror. The bird tried to chirp, but silence spilled out like dust. Its echo had been torn away by a windstorm so violent that even the sky still remembered it. Miro kneeled beside it. "I can find your echo," he murmured. But he already knew the truth. This bird's echo was gone, not stolen, not hiding, gone in the way sunsets fade and never return the same. The echoes floating above the forest watched him quietly, their lights soft with sympathy. They could return to their owners, but none could become a new voice. Except one. The smallest echo of all. A warm, rumbling hum that Miro carried in his chest, his own. He felt it trembling inside him now, as if understanding before he even made the choice. Miro cupped the little bird gently. "It's all right," he whispered. "You need it more than I do." Then, with trembling paws, he pressed his heart to the tiny creature. A soft, golden ripple burst outward. The bird inhaled and chirped. Not with its old voice. With Miro's voice. A small, warm, gentle rumble that sounded like kindness itself. The bird took flight, circling above him in joy. And Miro stood in the quiet clearing, throat hollow, chest empty. The tiniest bear in the world, now without an echo of his own. Some stories end quietly. But the story of a bear who saved every echo could only end with a song. After giving away his own echo, Miro walked through the forest in a new kind of silence. Not the empty silence from the night everything began, but a silence that felt incomplete. As if a part of him had stepped out of his body and flown away with the tiny bird he saved. Still, he kept going. The echoes he freed, hundreds of them, glowed softly above the treetops, drifting back to the places they once belonged. Birds regained their chirps, rivers their laughter, leaves their whispers. The forest woke fully, stretching like a giant who had finally finished a long, deep sleep. But Miro remained quiet. One evening, he sat beneath the old pine atop Hearthrise Peak, the same place where he first learned echoes could be ancient and afraid. He looked out over the forest, feeling both proud and hollow. That's when he heard it. A single note. Small. Warm. Familiar. The air shimmered. Echoes rose from the forest floor, every echo he had ever found, spiraling upward like a constellation made of sound. They circled him, humming with gratitude, each one carrying a piece of memory he had helped restore. Then, gently, they wove themselves together. A soft rumble bloomed in the air. A tiny heartbeat of sound. His voice. Miro gasped as the echoes placed it back inside him, not as it was, but richer, deeper, filled with every creature he had helped. The forest sang his name. Miro. And for the first time, the tiniest bear who had saved every lost echo finally understood. Some voices return only after you give them away. Long after the forest regained its voice, travelers often spoke of a peculiar sound drifting through the treetops at dusk, a soft hum woven with laughter, river song, leaf whispers, and the quiet heartbeat of the earth itself. They said it came from a tiny bear. But that wasn't quite true. The sound came from everything Miro had touched. Miro no longer carried jars or chased shimmering trails. He no longer searched for missing echoes in river bends or moonlit meadows. Instead, he spent his days walking slowly through the forest, listening, not for what was gone, but for what was growing. Animals greeted him with their restored voices. The fox howled proudly. The tiny bird sang with the warm rumble of Miro's old echo. Even the mountains seemed to breathe easier. And whenever Miro paused under a tree or beside a stream, the world around him shifted, softly, magically. Echoes gathered like curious fireflies, hovering just above his shoulder, as if drawn to the quiet bravery inside him. One night, as he lay beneath a sky dusted with stars, Miro asked in a whisper, "Why do you still follow me?" The echoes pulsed gently, wrapping him in warmth. Because echoes remember kindness. Because voices return to those who listen. Because the forest itself would never forget the bear who carried its silence. Miro closed his eyes, smiling. And somewhere deep within the forest's heart, a new echo was born. Not lost, not stolen. Just waiting for the next tiny creature brave enough to listen.